Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $2,000 Pioneer Open. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
And we got one round in the books, five more of Swiss and Top 8 to bring you all today. Last round we had a really nice one between two streamers, Young Dingo and PT Bench. PT Bench's Boris Convoke coming out on top. But now we got the Brewers round. Ross, why don't you give us a little bit of rundown of what we're going to be watching this one?
I prefer to call it the complete nonsense round
Okay.
because that's what we're about to
Yeah.
see. Absolute, utter nonsense.
We got to come out with like a catchy thing for it. Round two is always the Nutter Butters.
Yeah, so we're going to be watching a player who is apparently a local who typically stays at the commander tables, but is playing Pioneer today and is playing a little Gyruda combo.
Yeah, can we get that one on the screen if you have a chance? Because Gyruda specifically is this like weird 6-drop companion that during the era of companions when you could just cast them from exile, you play it with a bunch of things that can copy it, and so the copies continue the ability over and over and over again. Just so happens there's roughly 20 different clone effects that cost 4 mana.
Yeah, you either copy it or you blink it and you just keep going. You either create this huge battlefield or you just mill your opponent if you go deep enough. So
Right.
the goal is to just mill your opponent completely, even if you mill yourself, because then you pass the turn. So it's a lot of 2-mana acceleration because you got to stay all evens.
Right, so Sylvan Carry to things like that.
Armored Scrap Gorger, Wolfalo Haven.
Nice.
Those are the 12 in the deck. And then a bunch of 4-mana clones of varying stripes.
Yep.
And just racing to Gyruda. 3 in the main and then 1 in the sideboard in the companion slot. So because you got to pay 3 for the companion, it's a little bit slower. But if you don't really interact in time, it's a pretty consistent deck. And so it can be very powerful against things like Mono Green Devotion, which is what Alan dispatched in round 1.
Nice.
Gonna have a little bit of a more difficult time in round 2.
Yeah.
His opponent, Scott Collier, on a brew of his own. This is a Mono Red Goblins.
Mono Red Goblins is a deck that I've played from time to time on my Pioneer stream, and it's always a lot of fun, but it's not often like thought of as one of the best decks in the format. But I pretty regularly go like 4-1 and sometimes 5-0 with these builds, and like the deck does some really disgusting stuff sometimes. The goblins just have a lot of interweaving abilities that create a lot of burst damage from nowhere.
Yeah, Runevelt Hordemaster was a really big shot in the arm to this archetype. Battlecry Goblin is really nice.
Yes.
Of course, it's a Reckless Bushwhacker deck.
Yep.
You played Burning Tree Emissary, the Honorary Goblin.
Ooh, I didn't know that was in there. That's hot.
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is go wide, pump my creatures, kill you quickly. So really, we're in for just a straight race.
Yeah, and we'll see who takes it down. We're gonna Alan Varhola on Gyruda versus Scott Collier on Mono Red. The players are in the feature match area and ready to go. So let's head on down there and watch round number 2, the Apex Gaming event, 2K Pioneer. We're on the screen still. Don't know why. It's okay. Hello. There he is. All right, and we're off. Not sure who's on the play. We'll know in just a second. Are records correct? Did Collier lose round 1 and got paired up?
This is a pair down.
Okay.
With 46 players, so 23 1-0s, 23 0-1s. There were no draws in round 1, so one person gets the unlucky pair down.
It's like a breath of fresh air. No draws in Pioneer. Yesterday we had quite a few in Modern, but today, none. Island for Alan Verhola. That Founder Tree Denizen from Scott Collier is threatening a lot of damage here early on. We're going to play a couple of haste creatures as well. These goblins all going to come piling in. That's 3, 4, 5 damage, and Alan Verhola already on the back foot. If you're playing this Gyruda deck, you have to think this type of an explosive start is the least amount of, or the thing you'd like to see the least.
Yeah, now we've got to see one of those Sylvan Caryatids or Armored Scrap Gorgers here to play a little defense. There is one copy of Profaner of the Dead in the main deck. That's a way to clear away an opposing battlefield if you need to, but hard to find if you're not mid-Gyruda chain.
Yeah, and no play here on turn 2 from Varhola, and you got to think the writing is already on the wall quickly here in game number 1. Here comes Battlecry Goblin. Can't be activated this turn, but it will pump, and then we are followed up with another Fanatical Firebrand. And here we're going to attack for 3, 4, 5, 6, and then next turn, the activated ability on Battlecry Goblin should seal the deal. Alan Varhola's Gyruda combo deck doesn't have the capability to play Sweeper or something on this turn. It's all evens.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's going to be an easy one. Just pick them up.
Well,
Oh, man.
depending on your perspective.
You know, I feel bad for Alan because he didn't really want to come over to the feature match area, but we liked his deck so much that we made him come over. Or we didn't make him, we asked him
Yeah.
to come over. And when you get asked to come over to a feature match and then your opponent beats you on turn 3 and you don't cast a spell, it's got to be pretty frustrating. But as these players look at their sideboard for a little bit of help, Ross is going to take a look at this Gyruda sideboard and see if Alan Varhola has anything that can come in against mono red goblins.
Oh, so I see the Gyruda in the companion slot. I see a second copy of Profaner of the Dead. That's a nice one. There's 2 copies of Cathar Commando, a Destiny Spinner, 2 Thought Distortion, 2 Agonizing Remorse, 2 Decisive Denial, 1 Tear Asunder, and 3 Leyline of the Void. I'm not seeing a whole lot for aggro. The other Profaner should be good.
I think just all the 2-drops come in. I don't know that they're
Yeah.
particularly great, but they're something, and the deck really just needs some low to the ground stuff to trade early to buy time.
We can't really cast the Cathar Commandos normally. Those are there to return during the Gyruda chain to destroy problematic permanents that will stop you from killing them.
Right, but Destiny Spinner seems okay.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
great.
I'd bring it in. Decisive Denial is awkward because your 2-drops don't really fight well.
Right. That one's more for the counterspell part, I believe.
Yeah, it's a lot of ways to combat counter spells, which makes sense in a deck like this.
Yeah.
Just not a lot to combat aggro, and that's a
You know,
problem.
a brand new tool that's coming out in the very next set, Ross, that'll help Gyruda quite a bit is Cavern of Souls. That land getting a reprint means that Gyruda is going to be uncounterable, and that's usually the part where Gyruda falters the most.
Yeah, and that will help open up sideboard space for anti-aggressive cards
Right.
as well. So even though Cavern doesn't directly help you in the aggressive matchup, it does it indirectly by opening up sideboard spots.
Yeah, would like to see some stuff maybe, maybe it's not that castable, but there's all sorts of blue cards that kind of bounce a bunch of creatures or shrink a bunch of creatures. We could also maybe
Yeah,
play 3 colors.
That's
full
Profaner
tie.
of the Dead. You exploit
Yeah.
a creature and bounce all the opposing creatures that have toughness less than the exploited creature.
Nice. All right, on Scott Collier's side, doesn't need a whole lot of help in this matchup, but what tools do you think he'll be bringing in from his side?
Well,
Ross?
I'm looking at 2 Abrade, 4 Rending Volley, 3 Damping Sphere, 2 Pithing Needle, and 4 Tormod's Crypt. And
Tormod's Crypt doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work against Gyruda because the mill and return is all part of one triggered ability.
Right, and it's all stacked in those 4 cards, and
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the other cards in the grave.
So if I'm Scott, it's a same 60 situation.
Okay.
Game 1 went pretty well.
Yep. Hard to argue with the old turn 4 kill against an opponent who didn't play a spell.
Yeah.
All right, as these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, take a moment and shout out our sponsors. Ultimate Guard is the industry leader in TCG supplies, from the Katana sleeves to the Archive deck box. They have the best in the biz. Archive deck box is a very large, monstrous deck box that can hold your cube, all your commander decks, and the Katana sleeves are the best in the business. I'd also like to say thank you to G Fuel Energy Formula for keeping us energized on these long tournament days, as well as Wings, etc., Grill and Pub for feeding us and keeping us nice and happy after we get done with today's tournament. Been there 2 times now this weekend, and I think it's going to be a 3rd tonight.
I'm looking forward to it. Although I think I'm a little winged out. I might go for a burger tonight.
Oh, yeah. They got those Impossible Burgers, too.
Yep.
All sorts of vegetarian-friendly options for those of you who are animal conscious. Is that what you should say?
Sure.
Biologically
That's
conscious?
a fine way of putting it. That's a weird way of putting it.
Yeah.
That is.
I don't know.
That makes me seem like I'm. It's a whole different
yeah.
can of worms.
Can of worms also not on the menu at Wings, etc. Thank God. All right, Collier gonna take a mulligan. Alan
Somebody has no
Varhola
secret menu
starting
items.
at 9 life. That's already a huge disadvantage for him.
But Scott taking a mulligan, that's helpful. You're on the play this game. See if we can do our thing.
Okie doke. Gyruda time.
This is the matchup where Alan needs to aggressively mulligan. This deck needs to aggressively mulligan anyway. You just want to go turn 2 Accelerant, turn 3 Accelerant,
Right.
turn 4 Gyruda.
Yep. And if you can't play the Gyruda from hand, you got to spend one of those turns somewhere in there buying the Gyruda for the companion cost. But I do
Yeah.
really like the nerf on the companions, making them cost 3 more to go to hand, it does create some really weird situations with Yorion, pitch elementals or whatever from modern. So I can see why it was banned there. But I quite like the companions in Pioneer, and playing with Lurrus was some of the most fun I've had playing Magic. And while it is banned in Pioneer, the companions in general do add quite a bit of depth to some of these decks.
Well, Gyruda, not such a deep card. Pretty straightforward what that
It's
was
literally Gyruda of the depths or whatever.
doing.
That was my bit. I was hoping you would say Gyruda knows all about them depths.
I did not.
That's all right. All right, 5 cards for Collier. Gonna draw up to 7 and then put 2 back. Looking for the 1, 2, 3 start. A couple lands and a couple creatures will do though. Looks like we got a keeper. We'll be putting back a couple of dinky 1-drops. Castle Ember's a nice one to hold on to if you have a mountain, so you can put back second mountain, hold on to that land.
Yeah. Keep you the old 2 lands, 3 spells.
Yep, seems like. Now we're going to
Okay.
start off here with Alan Varhola and see if he can do a little bit better this game than game number 1. All right. That is, I believe, a Yavimaya Coast. Impossible to tell.
No one knows.
I got the thumbs up. It's the Yavimaya Coast. Here's another turn 1 Foundry Street Denizen. This one did a significant amount of damage last game. We'll see if Varhola has a way to trade for it. Maybe Paradise Druid or something can jump in the way.
Yeah, it's definitely the scariest 1-drop from this Goblins deck. And you see Dragon Fodder along with a couple Legion Loyalists in hand from Scott Collier. So you can go Fodder next turn, attack for 3, then double Loyalist attack for 5 or 7.
Here's a blue-green pathway played on green, and we're going to play Sylvan Carroted. This one can block a 2-power Foundry Street Denizen, but we know Collier about to make it a 3 multiple turns in a row. Finds Battle Cry Goblin. That card's going to do some serious damage output in a few turns, but here's Dragon Fodder. 2 buffs. We can attack for 3.
That'll play. Maybe gotta tap your mana for that one, buddy.
It's coming.
There you go.
It's coming. Aggro players are straight up, man. They're like, here's my thing, go. You didn't tap your lands. I'm not tapping them anyway. I'm not using them for anything.
Now, does Alan have the second piece of acceleration? Oh, I was thinking it's a little awkward with Gyruda that you can't sequence accelerant into accelerant while buying it, but with Haven you can.
Yes, you can.
And that we see this sequence here.
You know, one of my patrons is a big Gyruda fan, and he regularly gets me to play Gyruda on stream. And so I know all about the Wolfwell Haven on turn 3 after the 2 to buy, but didn't buy the Gyruda this turn. Interesting, but probably has some interaction.
Clearly scared of the aggression here, and that's understandable. Also, if we have a Gyruda naturally in hand, that it makes complete sense.
Bingo. Here's a couple of Legion Loyalists. This combined with the Foundry Street Denizen going to be significant damage output here. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coming across. It all has trample. We can block 1. If we don't want our Sylvan Carroted to die, we're going to take 6. Ouchers.
Yeah. So little 11, though, still should have 2 more turns.
Well, we might not need 2 more turns. If it's Gyruda time, we'll see if Varhola has it rolled up. Not the scariest board here, and so a big Gyruda turn could be quite nice for Alan. Here's land number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Payoff time. All from the depths, 20 stories high. Gyruda, Gyruda, Gyruda. Top 4.
Oh,
that was good.
Okay, so we have Wisp-Weaver Angel. That blinks the Gyruda.
Blink.
Do it again.
Oh, yeah.
Run it back.
We're going to see a lot of this, so I'm just going to wait.
Okay.
How many times can we copy or blink? Ooh, we even found the Spark Double. I think that's the one that can stay in play while cloning, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it stops being legendary, so now we have a legendary Gyruda and a non-legendary one. Run it back.
Zoop, zap, zoop. Now, the opponent is also getting to do the mill, and you can take one from your opponent's side if you miss, but the opponent isn't getting to put the things into play. Only you are, so this is just a straight-up flooding the board.
There's a Wisp-Weaver Angel. Blink Gyruda. Run it back.
Oh, I think we missed, so we're going to steal Well, this is a lot, right? This is exactly what Alan needed, was just to build a robust battlefield, and now we can end on our own Sylvan Carotid or something like a goblin, like Goblin Instigator from the opponent.
I'm in on just getting another mana creature onto the battlefield, but a better blocker is also nice.
Okie dokie. Here's Sylvan Carotid.
Yeah, so now we got 5 blockers for 5 attackers. Notably, we can see Collier milling over Rending Volley, so that came in out of the sideboard. Does answer Wispeaver Angel, but that's about it.
Yeah, perhaps unsure of how to approach the matchup, overboarded slightly, but you know, it might come in handy if he finds one here and is able to knock off an angel and get some damage in.
There could be some situations with Profaner of the Dead where it's quite good. You stop it before the exploit, save your battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even with the chain stopping after only 4 hits, I think this is going to be good enough.
I think so too. All right, here is Battlecry Goblin, but not able to activate this turn. I don't think there's any good attacks for Collier. We're going to go back Alan Varhola's way in just a moment, and we'll see if he can Gyruda again. We'll see if he wants to get a little frisky with attacks. Maybe he has that Profaner of the Dead to bounce the opponent's side of the board.
Now, the Battlecry Goblin is quite threatening, and it probably limits the ability for Alan to attack.
Right. Does threaten a lot of trample damage as well, thanks to the Legion Loyalists.
The goal here is going to be to end the game in the air, and the Wispeaver Angels need 5 total attacks between them, right? So we can attack with both of them this turn. Next turn, only attack with 1 after...
Nope. Ooh, game over. Here it is, Profaner of the Dead. Let's get this one on screen, because this is the one Ross pointed out a bunch. And we're going to exploit a Sylvan Carotid, and then we're going to bounce a bunch of opposing creatures because it checks toughness.
Yeah. Creatures that have toughness 3 or less, and then this is a 20-point attack.
Yep, bounce them up. Attack 4. Oh, we're just going to pack it all in. All right, lethal attack here from Alan Varhola, and we're going to go to game number 3.
Okay, that's how you draw it up if you're the Gyruda deck.
Be on the play.
Yeah, be
turn
on the play.
2, turn 3 accelerators. Turn 4 Gyruda.
Yeah, turn
4. 5 Profaner of the Dead. Perfect draw.
I guess it was a 21-point attack because the Spark Double gets a counter. But
okay.
Regardless, this is where it gets tough. You're on the draw. You need to mulligan aggressively to a turn 2, not just Woeful Haven on 2. I think you need Scrap Gorger or Sylvan Caryatid. You can keep Haven if you have one of your copies of Profaner of the Dead. Because Profaner will buy you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Especially against any token generators.
Right.
If Scott plays like a Dragon Fodder on turn 2, Profaner's excellent. There's also a couple of Prosperous Innkeepers. Those could be quite good as a turn 2 accelerant. So he's got some options here. And, hopefully he's able to make it a tense race, unlike in game 1.
Yeah, we've seen 2 very one-sided games here from both players on the play. And we'll see if either is able to break serve throughout the match. The Gyruda player here about to be on the draw against Mono Red. And last game we saw the Mono Red player mulligan to 5, has some running volleys in their deck that might not be so good against the green accelerants. And that's definitely what Alan Varhola is hoping for, a weaker draw from the Goblin deck.
Yeah, kind of, almost a little unfortunate for Alan that his opponent mulliganed to 5 in the game where Alan's draw was great and he was on the play. Yeah. You need those mulligans to 5 to be, distributed a little bit better. You need to get even luckier.
I was going to say, when someone says, I got lucky, normally it's like, I had a good top deck, but they don't tell you about all the times where their opponent mulliganed 5, or they were winning a bunch of die rolls, or a lot of things got to go right to win a tournament. That's what they don't tell you.
Okay, another turn 1 Boundary Street Denizen here for Scott Collier. Looks like a 1-lander, though.
Might want to keep it anyway. Looks like he does. Founder Street. I'm more of a fan of 10 Street. That was the street I grew up on.
Were you a hooligan?
Oh, yeah. I was
blowing up
artifacts all over the place.
No second land here for Collier. This is only going to be a 3-point attack with the Legion Loyalist.
And hand doesn't look that juicy either. Even with the land, it's just some reckless bushwhackers, a useless running volley.
And it's a Burning Tree Emissary is the last card. So a second land lets him set up one of the Reckless Bushwhackers, which will be very nice. So this turn is big. Do we hit the second land?
Okay, Armor Scrap Gorger comes down for Alan Varhola. This thing is going to provide a little bit of defense, and then it can add mana of any color and exile things from the graveyard. Those things are not intertwined, and so you can activate for mana no matter what.
Yeah. But if you don't exile a card, you don't get an oil counter to work towards pumping the power.
Cool. All right. Armor Scrap Gorger going to block. We're going to take 1 down to 16.
That'll protect your life total at all costs. No second land, though, for Collier, and things are looking pretty good. I think Collier needs it next turn.
I think this is a clear case of misunderstanding a matchup via Renting Volley, and then also not mulliganing aggressively in a matchup that's not about card advantage.
Collier's draws have made his hand look even worse over the top, but his keep was 2 1-drops, Burning Tree Emissary, Reckless Bushwhacker, 1 land, and like 2 kind of not great cards.
Mm-hmm.
If he hits the land, his hand is excellent.
All right, Valhalla plays another Scrap Gorger that allows for a turn for Gyruda next turn if he has it. If he doesn't, he can buy the Gyruda. I don't think he's under threat of death next turn, even if he taps out here.
But he's got time at this point. He can just buy the one from the companion zone. Got plenty of time here against the stumbles from Collier.
All right, Sylvan Carotid, and I'm gonna buy Gyruda. And now Scott Collier under the gun. This needs to be a big turn. Needs to start with the land. It's not a land. Here's Fanatical Firebrand. We're gonna attack.
So we can block the Foundry Street still with the Caryatid. Take 2, go to 14. Even if Gyruda bricks and we hit the land next turn, and Valhalla doesn't have a land, so he's tapped out other than the Gyruda, and you hit your land, you go Burning Tree Emissary, Bushwhacker. The Burning Tree or the Foundry Street Denizen gets blocked, and you're still only taking 9.
Okay, here's the bad boy from the depths, Gyruda. Top 4 coming off here, looking for clones and blinks. I don't think he hit it. I think this is a straight brick.
Oh,
what is that?
That's the Kunaros, whatchamacallit.
Okay, yeah, so Kunoros can get something back from the graveyard,
it's
but...
Kroxa and Kunaros.
Mm-hmm.
So you exile 5 cards for your graveyard, and if you do, you can return something. We're not going to be able to do anything, but it is just a 6/6 Vig Manus Lifelink.
Yeah, Vig Manus Lifelink, quite strong here, and we're likely going to have a couple of big turns over the next few, and I don't know that Collier can
There's
get out
the
of it.
land, but too little too late for Scott Collier here. Needed that 3 turns ago, probably.
All right, going to go Burning Tree. We're going to go for perhaps a Bushwhacker, but maybe just the Goblin Lord, the Runvelt Horde Master, because this is a relatively weak attack considering the Crooks and Kunoros has lifelink. But what else are you going to do, huh?
Not a whole lot.
Yeah. It also has Vigilance and is large. So, like, even, like, the prospect of gang blocking it with your whole squad to kill it, not great. Okay, Valhalla lining up, trying to figure out if he has a good attack or not. The answer is no, but oftentimes in a situation like this, the aggressive players get a little flustered and frustrated, and they just send everything to their death.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anything Scott can do here to get back into this game.
Yeah, attacking and not attacking are effectively the same.
I guess we do have a Rending Volley in hand. If you can find a second one and take down the Kroxa and Kunaros, because it is a white creature, then maybe we got something going. Or another Fanatical Firebrand and 3 for 1 yourself. And then, because Valhalla's hand is likely a lot of nonsense.
Yeah, just a bunch of clones or whatever. But
Yeah.
even a clone next turn is pretty powerful with the Gyruda. Okay, we're going to do some blocking. The Kunoros is going to, or Crooks and Kunoros is going to eat something and gain 6, back up to 20. The Gyruda is going to eat something as well. And then we're going to take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish. So we're going to take like 1 damage. Kill 2 things. Something like that. See where the dust settles. The story, though, here, Alan Valhalla's Gyruda deck functioning at high capacity and able to essentially defeat one of his hardest matchups here due to Collier's running volleys and lack of mulliganing into 2 lands.
Yeah, and that's one thing about that Gyruda deck that's a big strength. It is incredibly redundant.
Yes.
It's 14 2-mana accelerators, 4 Gyrudas, one of which is always available in that companion spot, and a bunch of, even clones. So you're always going to have, as long as you have a decent mix of lands and spells, you're going to be able to accelerate on the first few turns, accelerate into that Gyruda. And I love the fact that Wolfo Haven allows you to have the turn 2 accelerate, turn 3 Haven on an untapped land, so I have 3 mana left over to buy the Gyruda as a companion.
All right, well, we're going to play the Spark Double. That's going to copy Gyruda. That's going to find another Spark Double. It's going to copy Gyruda again. We're going to get a 6-point attack with the Croaks and Kanoros at the very least. And at the very most, we can just deck our opponent this turn. So let's see how deep Valhalla can dig. We might be done here with just a Prosperous Innkeeper, it looks like. You want to play enough of those clone effects to go pretty deep when you get the Gyruda off, but oftentimes you don't need to go all the way.
No, we saw that in game 2. We hit 4 creatures, and that was more than good enough.
Right. All right, see if Valhalla wants to line up an attack here. I think the Crooks and Kenora and the Gyruda can both swing freely. It's going to be a big attack here for 11, putting Collier down to 9 and gaining 6 more life for Valhalla up to 19. Big damage swap here.
And we're going to see a few more of those swaps before this game is over.
All right. Gonna go back Collier's way, see if he has anything. I see that Rending Volley poking out, but these creatures are all too large for one of them. I see some Bushwhackers that don't attack well into a big lifelinker.
Yeah, and that one Rending Volley came in. If we had just a second, it could maybe do something, but still that wouldn't be good enough.
All right. Collier taps the mat, packs it in, and Alan Varhola moves to 2-0 with Gyruda combo. Well done and well played. This interesting combo deck, I'm hoping we get to see it quite a bit today because Gyruda is a fan favorite and doesn't get a lot of limelight. I'm hoping that Cavernous Souls will change that.